Are you looking to get to 10% body fat? I'm about to show you the smartest and fastest way to get there, hands down. I promise this is like 5 or 10 times faster than other methods that try to get you to 10% body fat because it's sustainable and you can keep it up. And that's what's key. You won't be wasting your time and you're not going to be suffering the entire time trying to get super lean. So I'm going to let you know what that is. So this is a screenshot. I'm looking at it on my phone while it's on your screen. This is a screenshot of a guy that I saw from a weight loss support group. And over the course of a year, he lost a grand total of like roughly 6 pounds. I think it says 6.6 pounds right there. I'm not sure if that's, total from beginning to end, but that's over the course of a year. That's an entire year that he spent losing 6 pounds. Now you might think, well, he's obviously lost a lot more than 6 pounds, but look, there's like 4 attempts, 4 ways down, and then not very long. It's about a 2-month stretch at any point before he goes right back up. And so that is the heart of this video. Is I'm going to teach you how to keep it sustainable, and I promise that's going to be a lot faster in a year. But still, even if you're not going to get 10% body fat in 6 weeks or something, But whenever it's sustainable and you're doing things the right way, like I'm going to teach you in this video, you're going to make it so much further, so much faster. You could easily get to 10% within a year because it's sustainable. You'll notice in that screenshot he suffered from much more weight loss. The whole time. I don't know if I'm describing this right, but you can probably relate to this. He suffered and there was almost no point to it. He could have just not suffered, continued to eat chips and everything, and he would have at least been, flat. Instead of losing all that weight and then just gaining it all back by binging. And so you might have gone through that. I certainly have gone through this. It's called yo-yo dieting, and it's no fun. A person really is healthier and better off if they just never try to diet. So the sustainable way is definitely going to be the best way to get 10% body fat. I put a different spin on this and go into more details of how I actually apply it to my clients in my dial system video. That's going to be in the description as well as the pinned comment, so you can go check that out if you want to, right after this video or now. But in that video, it's again a little bit different. These videos are going to work pretty well together, so I hope that this brings you value. Okay, so first off, you're going to want to be weightlifting. That is so key. You got to keep your muscle during this process. Not only are you going to be keeping your muscle, but if you're relatively new to this or you haven't been, doing this seriously for a long time, and typically a yo-yo dieter, they never are on their game long enough for their body to make these adaptations. So you're going to be relatively new if you relate to that person that I showed you at the beginning. If you have what's called newbie gains left in the tank, probably for like a year at least, you have this thing called newbie gains where your muscles respond very easily to stimulus because it's just not used to it. Stimulus being if you go in the gym and lift weights, your muscles are going to be growing. So if you're in a little bit of a calorie deficit and you're lifting weights, not only are you going to make sure to spare your muscle mass, which is going to be so key so that you feel like you have good shape and good, a good look at the end of your journey. You don't feel skinny fat, which is oftentimes what happens when a person just loses fat because they're actually also losing muscle and they don't lose as much fat as they think. But anyways, if you are lifting in the gym, you're also going to be, remember I said you're in a slight calorie deficit. We're going to talk more about that in a second, but whenever you're in a slight calorie deficit and the body's like, I'm going to build muscle. I'm so ready for the stimulus. You're so ready for muscle gains. The muscle has to be built from somewhere. It needs calories to be built. You're already in a calorie deficit. Where do you think they come from? It doesn't slow down your metabolism and spare all this calorie, nonsense in the background. It is that you are going to be pulling from body fat. And that's what's so fun is your weight loss is accelerated and you start looking better from 2 directions. You start looking more shapely and more muscular. Your arms start looking better. Your legs start looking better. Your stomach starts looking better. Your chest, your back, everything starts looking better. But then also you're exposing that fullness by losing body fat. It's a lot of fun. So here's what I would do, looking on my phone again. I would do 2 days at first of total body, 2 to 3 sets per body part. And something I've been going for recently is like the 2-3 rule. I probably need to do a video about this and just call it the 2-3 rule. At first, I would start 2 days a week, 2 sets per body part. That's it. You're going to respond to that stimulus pretty well. So you don't really need much more. Like take advantage of those easy gains while you got them. Then I would go to 3 steps. That's something later. 3 days per week for 3 body parts. And that'll kind of be your next leg up. Then go the next level, so level 1 was 2 days per week, 2 sets per body part, 3 days per week, 3 sets per body part, and then taking every set 2 to 3 reps shy of failure. So that's why I think it should be called the 2-3 rule. I'm going to try to remember this, put a video out about it. But so at first you're going for a little bit more volume. At first you're going for technique on the 2 days a week, 2 sets per body part. Just focus on technique. Don't worry about necessarily how hard it is. Then after maybe 2 or 3 weeks, there we go, more 2 and 3. Go to 3 sets per week or 3 sets per body part, 3 days per week. Sorry if this is confusing. I'm going to get there. And then 2 to 3 reps shy of failure, 2 to 3 weeks after that. So this thing will take you like 6 weeks, and you'll eventually be doing 3 sets per body part, 3 times a week, where each set is 2 to 3 reps shy of failure. Now, if you're asking, like, what is he talking about with failure? The perfect video to go watch. It's more vlog style on my channel, which I don't do a whole lot of, but it is the emotional eating video. I'm holding like a tub of ice cream. Go look at that video. Somewhere in that video, I'm in the gym actually pushing, pretty hard, pretty close to failure. And you'll see what it looks like. It's basically the bar speed really slows down, So if you're doing a bench press, the last rep might look like a real grinder, and then eventually you get it up there. And if you go for another, you're probably going to fail, or you might be able to get it. That's whenever you're really close to failure, meaning you're not going to be able to complete the lift. The second thing that you're going to focus on is cardio. Now, first, I would just focus on steps. Aim for like 8,000, and then every week you're able to achieve that, like perfectly. Let's say you're doing 8,000 and you're giving good effort to it, and you're giving 8,000 every single day. Add 1,000 steps to it. You're eventually going to come to a step count where sometimes you miss it, sometimes you get it. And you have to be honest with yourself. Like, am I missing it because I'm like letting myself miss it, or is it just not possible in my life? And that's a really good goal. So let's say you end up at like 12,000. That's going to be a great amount of movement that you're probably not used to, that is going to be burning calories. It's going to help you get to 10% body fat. This is so exciting. I'm excited for you. The less steps you're used to, the better, in my opinion, because you have so much room to improve and to lose body fat. After you've maxed out on steps, or you've gotten close, let's say it's 10,000, 9,000, it should at least be 7,000, 8,000, in my opinion. I know that some people desk jobs and, they come home to kids or whatever, but finding creative ways of getting more steps. So at least 7,000, 8,000. But once you found your max on steps, then I would add about 20 minutes of cardio 2 to 3 times per week. Nothing crazy. Let's just say you pick 2 days per week, add cardio. Don't have to, work on intensity or anything like that right now. Eventually you add a 4th day and a 5th day. And then let's say, you max out at like 3 days per week. You don't have to add a 4th and a 5th. Let's say you max out at 3 days per week. Then you start adding, remember I said 20 minutes. Then you start adding 5 minutes until you found your max of cardio. So let's say you're doing, 3 days a week of 45 minutes, and you're doing 12,000 steps a day. You're going to be scorching body fat at that point, because you're also lifting and your body's converting some of that extra energy that is on your fat stores into muscle. This is just going to be a great situation for you. At that point, I would just stick with that for a while, just let that awesome change happen. But if it starts to slow down, that's whenever you can work on intensity. So that's increasing the incline of the treadmill, making sure not to pull on the handrails to make it easier. That's going a little faster on the elliptical, whatever it is, making sure that the quality of your cardio is a higher quality, because your fitness is better and you can move faster. Now, if you move faster in the same amount of time, you can burn more calories. So it's this awesome snowball effect. You're building more muscle. You're, with that extra muscle, burning more calories throughout the day. You're burning more calories during your cardio because you're literally have more muscle in order to, perform that cardio. And your shape is getting better from better, muscle gain, and you're losing fat. This is just a great combination. So the third thing that you're going to focus on is going to be your diet. Obviously, you knew that was probably coming up. So I really like my clients to food log. I highly recommend it. For myself, it has been life-changing to see that I don't have to feel guilty whenever I eat that X, Y, or Z thing because I'm logging it. It is so helpful, I promise, at least for me. I've been where you're at, okay? I've hated myself, and I'm not saying necessarily you do, but I'm saying the typical person that comes to my channel, I've seen the comments over the years. I've been where you're at. I felt that pain. I grew up obese. It is my mission to help people defeat hating their bodies and to defeat obesity. So I want to help you in this regard. And I promise food logging is something that's so helpful. You don't have to do it forever, at least for a month or two. And you'll start to see what foods are valuable for you to have and what foods maybe just aren't really worth it. But you'll also see that, those 2 slices of pizza just aren't that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. And then it prevents the guilt, and it prevents you from falling off the wagon because you have that budget. I kind of describe it to my clients a lot. I just thought of this, not even in my notes, as a budget going into the mall. If I said, hey, go buy yourself a coat, but this card only has so much money on it, it could decline, good luck. It'd be kind of nerve-wracking, kind of weird. I don't know, can I buy an $80 coat? Can I buy a $200 coat? I have to buy a coat. I'm not sure. But if you know how much money you have, let's say you knew you had $500, it wouldn't feel so bad. I just gave you $500, right? So it's like, it's not my money. It wouldn't feel so bad to buy a $490 coat or $485 coat or whatever, because, normally I wouldn't buy that for myself, but hey, I have the budget for it. Why not? And that's kind of how calories are whenever you start seeing them as like, hey, sometimes I want a donut and it's fine. I had a half of a donut today. That was my daughter's. She didn't eat the rest of. And I think it was like 168 calories for this half of a donut from a gas station up here. So it just isn't that big of a deal. Whenever you log it, you don't have to feel any guilt. So at first I would eat whatever you want. Just log it. I don't care if it's fast food. I don't care if it's junk. We of course want to clean that up. But at first, just logging it is going to be so helpful. It's going to send you in the right direction. Look up your TDEE. That's total daily energy expenditure. Subtract 500 from that calculator. That's a good starting point. MyFitnessPal will give you something like that. Just start there and make adjustments based off your weight. So if you see that your weight isn't dropping, you would subtract some calories. This is where I go much more in depth in my dial system video, where we tweak the steps, we tweak the protein, things like that. So probably go watch that video. But your TDEE minus 500 is a good place to start. Try to get 1 gram per pound of body weight for protein of your ideal body weight. So if you're going for 200 pounds, eat 200 grams of protein. If you want to be 150 again, then I might go up from there a little bit just in case you surprise yourself and you want to be something more like 160 or 175 with all that extra muscle. But, maybe whatever you pick, go up a little bit. So if you want to be 175, go up to, 180 or whatever. It's not going to really matter that much. Try to get 1 gram per pound of body weight of your ideal, what you see in your head as being the ideal body weight for yourself. Try to include veggies and lean protein with as many meals as possible, as many snacks as possible. It could be something as simple as beef jerky, but as long as you are getting in the high volume stuff, and that's going to be protein, fruits, and vegetables, those things are going to keep you full, and it's really going to make your life a lot easier. Now, if you've made it this far in the video, congratulations. This is a golden nugget right here. People have been loving my cookbook. I've had so many signups for it. It's completely free. So if you find me on Aaron Trainer Fitness or Aaron Trainer Fit, I think it's Aaron Trainer Fitness on Instagram, then you'll see me on there. I'm like crossing my arms or whatever in the thumbnail photo or whatever. Just let me know that you want DM me, and I will send it to you for free. It is meal prep sized meals, but I give you the exact grams that you pull. So it's awesome. You just follow the recipe. It's pretty easy. I'm not a chef or anything. So you follow the recipe. There's protein mac and cheese. There's white chicken chili. It's delicious stuff. But the end, I'll say there's 10 servings, and instead of you having to measure out what is a serving, how do I evenly divide this into 10? It'll tell you, 435 grams is a serving. Now, our recipes might be a little off because sometimes in the recipe book, I'll say 40 to 50 ounces of chicken. So obviously, if you use 40 and I used 50, I almost always use 50. That's an entire family pack of chicken. Yours is going to be a little off, but that doesn't matter. You're going to get results with it. And then if you take my dial system video and, put all that together, it's great. So that recipe book is free. You're going to love it. People have been loving it. Man, I'm just so excited that I'm able to help people like this. So go ahead and get it. Okay, so I'm going to be reading off my phone for this one because I want to get this right for you. This is the most important point. The last thing that you're going to be working on is consistency. And I know that's not a sexy thing to talk about, and I know you've heard it before, but hang with me for a second. The scale lies. It is super useful, but the scale does lie. It lies down and it lies up. So if you have a weight loss spike that day, don't sweat it. It's about the data. It's about the pattern. If we see the pattern is down, but there was a spike or two, what if you would have quit at those spikes? But the pattern's down, so it doesn't really matter as long as the pattern you see a slope down. But weight loss dips are also false. So if you're used to weighing in at 285 and all of a sudden you weigh in at 279, you didn't lose 6 pounds, probably. I'm guessing you probably just lost some water weight, and that's going to return. But keep it up. And a lot of times my clients actually don't see it return. And I tell them, I promise I didn't lie to you. It's just that in the background, your fat caught up, you were still losing weight in the background. So as the water was being added back in, your fat was going down. And so you ended up, it felt like you stalled for 2 weeks, but in reality, you were actually losing body fat. The weight never came back, but you were losing body fat and the water came back at the same time, if that makes sense. Anyways, the point is that the scale is useful, and I highly recommend my clients take their weight every day, and we can make adjustments in the dial system video based off of that pattern. But the pattern is what matters, not the ups and downs. I think a big key circling all the way back to the original photo that I showed you is to incorporate rest weeks and diet breaks. I promise you, it's not going to hurt your results. I think a lot of people have this fear that if I change what I've been doing, if I release my grip a little bit, then I'm going to go all back into my old ways. A person goes back into their old ways when they've just had enough and they can't suffer any longer and all their hormones are out of whack, and then they just binge. I'm sure you've been there. If you're watching this video, a lot of you have been there from what you say in the comments. I have experienced that as well. If we can prevent ourselves from ever hitting that rock bottom place where we binge ourselves right back up and then even sometimes past where we started by allowing a diet break, let's say you gain 2 pounds back. One, that's probably going to be water weight filling your muscles, water and glycogen filling your muscles. You'll look better. Your muscles will look more full. But two, even if it was body fat, if you lost 20 pounds and then you took a little bit of a break because you're like, I can't stop thinking about food. I should do a video of when to know when to take a diet break. Maybe leave it in the comments for like, I'm dying to know that answer. I can't wait for that video. Then I'll answer you with like a short or something. But whenever you start thinking about food, you're like, man, I feel like I'm tense. My sleep's bad. I'm tired all the time. Take a diet break. I'm telling you, it is so valuable if you're able to go down and then maintain, down and then maintain. You will reach, instead of that picture that I showed you at the very beginning, instead of going right back up, that guy would have been 100 pounds down by now. Easy. He would have easily reached his goal. I think I can't remember. No, it wasn't in that screenshot, but I think in his post, he said he was like 30 pounds or something away from his goal. So he doesn't even have that much to lose. He easily would have been there already. A really good thing that people don't really like to hear, and I don't blame them, I don't like to hear it either, is going out does probably need to be limited. There's more calories in food that's out than what's in the food logs and stuff. They always add too many calories and everything. Their food tastes delicious. You're more likely to go back. I don't think they hold back on sugar and butter. The stuff's cheap, and they just throw all that on everything. So it is easier if you're eating more at home. So cooking those recipes, getting good at those recipes, that's going to help you so much. But let yourself go out to eat and everything. Drinking is a big one that I see that people, I'm not saying you can't drink. I'm just saying maybe being more consistent with, like when you drink. Make sure it's a special event, an anniversary, a birthday, or you're out with friends or something. Other than that, if it's just a dinner between you and your spouse or you and a friend or whatever, maybe don't have drinks. But if it's like friends at a table and everyone, I don't know, pick something, pick a pattern and be consistent with that. Because at least if you're consistent with that, I guess you could be consistent drinking every single weekend, but it's going to be really hard. At least you can dial that back. I don't talk about that in my dial system video, but that could be something that's kind of like its own separate dial, is you could dial back the alcohol. Oh, I drink every weekend. Now I'm going to drink once a month or whatever.